Hey everyone, and welcome back for another little video on Tekken looking at artwork. With the first one, I looked at artwork from Tekken 1 through Tekken Tag Tournament. This one will be Tekken 4, and of course each game onward. Just looking at artwork, and I'll discuss if I have any specific memories of anything from that time. First, let's get started. First up, what we have is just a simple, of course, digital piece of art, just Jin Kazama looking at Guam Hooring, however you want to say his name. Next we have the traditional, of course, artwork of Tekken 4, which this is the artwork you would have seen on the arcade machine. Now, surprisingly, the arcade at the time that I had around here surprisingly did not have a Tekken 4 arcade machine, strangely enough. They had a Tekken Tag, and then they went to Tekken 5. And it wasn't too long after Tekken 5 that the arcade shut down, so they never got a chance. Though right before they did get an upgraded version of Dark Resurrection. But that would be it, unfortunately. And it sucks. There was another place briefly, a movie theater actually at the time before they closed their doors, that actually had Tekken 4 machine. Nice time. In my opinion, this is the most criminally underrated game in the franchise. Next we have just of course a basic piece of artwork of Greg Murdoch. Of course Xiao Yu. And then we go to like the prologue of from story mode, of course, some artwork of obviously Brian Fury, Dr. Abel, which of course is like a douchebag doctor in the series. Of course, then you see some more artwork of Brian being up on the Tekken Force. And he ends up, of course, killing Dr. Abel. That would pretty much do in anyone, a punch like that. Then, of course, we go to Christine, known for the copy arrow. I believe that's the correct pronunciation, I'm not sure. Don't swear by it. But, of course, she's obviously the granddaughter of course, the one who taught Eddie Gordo his style of martial arts that he uses, which is a combination of course, dance and art, or rather, dance and martial arts, which is well known in like South Africa and other parts of the continent. I will say of female characters in the series, she is probably one of my personal favorite female characters in the Tekken series. Kumbot, an underrated character. It's interesting how everyone always talks about Mokujin, but sadly Kumbot's only appeared in 2 games in the whole franchise. Of course, Tekken 4 and Tekken Tag 2. And personally I like Kumbot more than Mokujin. I actually like the design. It's an interesting design for a robot in a fighting game. I love that piece of artwork showing, of course, Ogre. And of course, now we're on to obviously the story for Heihachi Mishima. And there we see Kazuya beating the crap out of the Tekken Force. I always did like Heihachi's design. He is definitely has a very signature specific design. I think it's his Dr. Wily hair. But personally, I've always been a big fan of Heihachi, and it hasn't hurt the fact he has one of my personal favorite Japanese voice actors. And that helps him become distinctive, his deep, like intimidating voice, and especially that signature evil laugh of his. And I always liked how he smirked in the games and stuff. Just like, he always was very underhanded. He was sort of like a Lex Luthor type character in fighting games. And there, of course, we go to Hurang, or however you want to say his name. Now, a lot of people don't like his redesign with the short spiky hair. Personally, I actually liked his redesign with his more military style outfit. I actually thought it was kind of refreshing. Now, I do like the redesigning of his base costume in this game more than his original costume design from, of course, Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag. Jin, I definitely actually liked Jin's redesign in this game, especially with like the jacket, hoodie jacket, and pants. I just like the color scheme with the gold, the silver, and the blue. Now, I will be honest, I liked the Mishima Zaibatsu style, or rather, the Mishima style of karate, or martial arts. And of course, then he would change his style to more traditional karate in Tekken 4. And then they would alter it a little bit here and there every future game. Now, though, to be fair, I think overall gameplay style, I actually think I like Jin the most in Tekken 4, in all honesty. It's probably my favorite Tekken game for Jin. This was the game that made me actually like him. I didn't care much about Jin in Tekken 3. Tekken Tag, I kind of started liking him, but it was Tekken 4 that actually made me a fan of Jin. Kazuya, I love the fact they returned Kazuya. I would say, at the end of the day, Kazuya was my favorite character in Tekken 4, play-wise. I would say, probably, gameplay-wise, Tekken 4 and Tekken 5 were my favorite Tekken games for Kazuya. And now we skip to Julie, which is, of course, the, I guess technically you could say adopted daughter of course, Michelle. Which is a scientist. I actually like this version of her the most. The more science version of her in Tekken 4 and 5. I don't like the whole like vlogger or like Twitch streamer type design they went with in Tekken 7. I'm just not a fan of her redesign. This was, in my opinion, the best version of her. I actually thought the jean jacket and everything suited her pretty well, her character. Next we go on to, of course, Kazuya and the G Corporation. I actually like the art style used in these epilogue and prologues. And I thought they had a decent narrator voice as well for these moments in the game. I just wish they would do like a remaster, like HD treatment to Tekken, well, obviously to Tekken 4. I mean, Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection got a remaster on the PS3, but Tekken 4 gets ignored, which is bullcrap. Tekken Tag got a remaster, but Tekken 4 just doesn't get the respect it deserves. Of course, we see Marduk. Or technically not, and here we see an interestingly enough king, of course, with a sombrero. And of course, Kuma, punching trees, why not? A giant bear punching trees in the forest. Yeah, nothing unusual. Then again, this is Tekken we're talking about. Now, that picture is not very good on the facial design for Kuma. Yeah, somehow I think if you were a couple and would see a bear at the window, I don't think... I get the feeling they'd freak out, probably, and for good reason. I don't think most bears are going to just stand there watching the TV. Now, that looks more reality. And there we, of course, see Violet, aka Lee, or as he's basically become a meme in the games, basically, with his signature, "Excellent." I don't know why they had to turn that into such a meme. But I actually like his alter ego color scheme and everything. I like Violet, honestly. Now, first you had to play and beat the game with, of course, Violet in order to unlock traditional version Lee. Though I always stuck with Violet. Next, of course, we go to Lei Wulong, which, as I've said before, is definitely, you can tell, inspired, especially with designs like this, with the Jack and jeans. You can tell he was really inspired character by Jackie Chan. A good facial design and definitely signature hairstyle of Jackie Chan from that period of time in the early and mid-90s. Of course, there we see Marduk. I want to say Murdoch, not Marduk. There we see his hair design with long hair. I'm sorry, but he looks better bald. Just saying. Of course, there we see him killing the original Armored King. I do have to say, I like the design of his tattoo. Gameplay-wise, I was never a fan of the character. I think he has a great, like, intimidating design about him, but gameplay-wise, I'm just not a fan of him. Here's one of my all-time favorites, though, Martial Law, which I've always preferred over Forest Law, his son. And this would be the game when Martial Law would return, because Forest Law was in 3 and Tekken Tag, of course. And we see him, of course, get back into shape. Obviously, he's obviously influenced and basically a copy of Bruce Lee. Obvious character is obvious. Of course, there we see stuff about, of course, Nina Williams. Of course, that was a signature element in the opening to Tekken 3, of course. Classic assassin. Now, between assassin characters, between Nina Williams and, say, Cammy in Street Fighter, I think character-wise, I actually think Nina is a more complex and more interesting character than Cammy is. In all honesty. I just think also she looks like a more badass character overall. And I liked how they did that rivalry thing set up with, of course, her sister, Anna Williams. And obviously also, technically, the mother of Steve. Then we go to Xiaoyu and Panda. Ling Xiaoyu. Which, yeah, Panda is technically just the skin of Kuma, but at least they added personality also. And Ling Xiaoyu is definitely somebody I really liked the full redesign in this game from Tekken 4 onward. They stuck with this design, which is the better design. Then we got Paul, Phoenix, of course, return. Personally, I like Paul's redesign in Tekken 4. I wish they had stuck with that redesign, because I liked seeing him with his hair down. It was refreshing not to always have to see his stupid spiked up hair. I know it's a signature of the franchise, but I'm sorry, I like this redesign of him more, in all honesty. And I know it's not a popular opinion on Tekken 4, but the game and everything, but personally, I just like the gameplay in the arenas. I know it's a really big departure for a lot of people, especially even individuals such as Maximilian do, which I'm surprised, given he's such a veteran of the fighting game community, that he doesn't appreciate Tekken 4 more than he does. It's unfortunate. He talks always more highly about, of course, Tekken 3 and Tekken 5. Is Tekken 3 good? Yeah. But it's not, in my opinion, the best Tekken game. I have to disagree. For me, Tekken Tag is my favorite of all time, and my second and third spots are pretty close, really, between, honestly, Tekken 4, Tekken 5, and then somewhere right below is Tekken 3, and then fifth place would probably be Tekken 7. Steve is an interesting individual. Sadly, I never got really good with. I was never too good with boxing style characters. Even though the character overall I actually find interesting. And of course we see ending stuff. And of course the interesting beetle redesign for Yoshimitsu, which is definitely interesting, but one of my personal favorite. I'd say probably my second favorite design of Yoshimitsu is this one after Tekken 3 / Tekken Tag. And that's just cool looking in my opinion. And that's it. And that's it for looking at the artwork from Tekken 4. And I'll see y'all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel. And I'll see you next time for Tekken 5.